If you're a language learner like me, you probably spend a lot of time online and quite often come across information about your target language or the culture of the people that speak it, or maybe even study advice, and you feel like this information might be very helpful in the future, but not exactly right now. And so you save it to bookmarks, you take a screenshot, or maybe you even make a note in your Notes app or your physical notebook, only to never return to them later. Or maybe you are slightly more organized, but you would like to keep all of your language-related finds in one place that is also well suited for that kind of content. Whatever your situation is, I think I got the solution for you. If you're into stationery, planning, journaling, and all that good stuff, you might have heard of commonplace books. If not, let me explain. A commonplace book is basically any type of system for storing pieces of information, like quotes from books, movies, or conversations, anecdotes, observations, song lyrics, social media posts, podcasts, or pretty much anything else that you might want to return to later. Basically, the idea is to keep all of that information in one common place that makes it easy to find, reread, and use every piece of knowledge you have obtained. Here on YouTube, you'll find a lot of people who keep a paper notebook for that purpose, but other options would be using a system of index cards or keeping a digital commonplace book in an app like Notion or Evernote. Not that long ago, I decided that I also wanted to start a commonplace book, specifically for my languages. The idea of keeping a paper notebook was discarded almost immediately because entering information would take a lot more time and effort that I'm willing to put in. Plus, I discover most of that information online, and I also think that organizing and searching for information in a paper notebook would kind of be difficult. This is how I settled on Google Keep. And by the way, shout out to my friend/language accountability partner who reminded me of the existence of Google Keep, because for some reason, even despite having made a whole Google Keep tutorial on my other channel a couple of years ago, I completely forgot that it was even an option. And now that I have been using it for a couple of weeks, let me show you what it looks like and how I personally use it. But first of all, if you're not familiar with Google Keep, it's basically a free note-taking app by Google that looks like a board with a bunch of sticky notes on it. But for a seemingly simple app, it actually allows you to take notes in a variety of different formats. Your notes can contain text, images, photos that you can take right in the app, sketches, audio recordings, and checklists. You can also add links to your notes, which in most cases will allow you to also see a preview of the page. Now, let me show you some of the examples of how I use different note formats in my commonplace book in Google Keep. So checklists, obviously I use those for lists. Books I want to read, songs I want to translate, movies or shows that I want to watch, or even vocabulary I want to remember. I also really like coming up with what I call language projects, and I have a whole video about it. And checklists allow me to easily break those projects down into smaller, actionable steps. When it comes to images, for me it's almost always screenshots, especially of posts I see on Instagram, where it's kind of hard to copy the captions directly into another app. I usually screenshot interesting phrases, resources, language challenge ideas, and study tips. Also, there's this really cool feature, which I believe is only available on the desktop version of Google Keep, which allows you to grab the text from an image and turn it into normal text that you'll be able to edit, copy, and so on. I've tried it even with Greek, which is usually not really a language that a lot of apps support, and I'm happy to report that it works perfectly. You can also take handwritten notes in Google Keep. I personally prefer doing it on my iPad, but I guess for a quick jot down, using a phone would do too. Again, just like with images, you can use the text recognition feature to turn your scribbles into text, which is really nice. And I personally like the drawing feature for brainstorming ideas like study plans, to-do lists, making mind maps, and things like that. But what I like to do even more is to draw on top of images and photos I save, because that is also something that you can do in the app. Audio recordings. I personally haven't really used this feature all that much, but I imagine you could do two things here. Either record someone else, maybe you're playing a podcast or watching a video and want to save a snippet, or record yourself, for example, for speaking practice. While you're recording audio, it will also try to transcribe it, but the problem is that it does so in the language of your device, I believe. So if I try to record a voice note in Greek, but my phone's language is set to English, the app will actually think that I'm speaking English. Also, any note that you create using Google Keep can be turned into a reminder, which is super helpful sometimes. For example, if you keep your study plan in Google Keep, you can ask the app to remind you to go back to that plan and check in every day, every week, or every month. Now, let's talk about some other features that I think make Google Keep worth it. Something that's really important to me is being able to categorize the information I save and also being able to easily retrieve it when I need it. And here's what you can do with Google Keep. First of all, if you have several Google accounts, you can dedicate each one to a particular topic if you don't want your language-specific notes to be mixed up with other stuff. I, for example, use one account for everything related to languages, and then another one for everything else, inspirational stuff, reminders, shopping lists, and so on. Within one Google Keep account, the primary method of organization will be labels. I use two types of labels: language specific, like Greek, Polish, Korean, Spanish, and so on, and content specific. For example, reading for books and articles I want to read, funny for funny things in my target languages, learning for general learning advice or language challenges, culture, and so on. So for me, a note will usually get two tags, the language one and the one that specifies what type of content is in the note. Another thing you can do is pin your notes to the top. I usually do this either with notes I want to return to in the future or notes I'll be adding information to. For example, here I have my list of Spanish books that I want to read, and then every time I find a new book, I can easily locate the note and add the book to it. You can also add another layer to your organization system by assigning colors to your notes. I personally find it a little bit less intuitive, so even though I do try to color code my languages, I tend to rely on labels more. You can search notes by colors, by types of notes, for example, only checklists, by labels and themes, although I don't really find the themes feature to be that reliable. Another cool thing here is that Google Keep also allows you to search text within images. So even if you take a screenshot, let's say, of a tweet, you'll be able to find it later by typing the text that was in the image. And if you're not sold yet, though this is not a paid sponsorship or anything like that, Google Keep also works well together with other Google services like Gmail and Google Docs. For example, if you want to copy text from an email to a Google Keep note, you can just do so by using this side panel here. So Google Keep will actually create a link to the original email and you'll be able to refer to it later this way. Same with Google Calendar. Say you're meeting your language exchange partner and you want to ask them some questions. If you put them directly into meeting notes, the other person will be able to see them. But if that's not something you want, you can just open Keep in the side panel and start typing. The note will automatically be linked to the meeting in your calendar. And by the way, speaking of collaboration with other people, you can do that in Keep too. All you have to do is add a collaborator using their Gmail when you create or edit a note. And another thing you can do is start making notes in Google Keep and later turn them into a Google Doc. And you can also do the opposite, highlight text in a Google Doc and send it to Google Keep. I think that's pretty much all of the features I personally know of, but I just wanted to add that adding information to an app like Google Keep is only the first step. What's really important is actually returning to that information and making use of it. One thing you can do here is view it as your personal feed. Try placing the app icon where you would normally have your social media app of choice so that every time you feel like scrolling, you go on Google Keep instead of social media and find inspiration or learn something there. Also, if you want more planning related language videos, check out this video I made about my language journal / planner. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye!